There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing, everything the traffic will allow. Nowhere can you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow.
When we arrived in 1979, there was no theater here on the island. Several people said, well, we should have a theater, a community theater. So we talked to a lot of people. It wasn't us doing this whole thing. This was Ellen Green and Mary Hurt.
So they started meeting with civic leaders, people at the Chamber of Commerce. So I got invited to one of those meetings, along with about 80 other people who became the charter members, and we each gave $10. So that we came up with $800 to fund the very first production, which was Butterflies Are Free, and it was going to be at the Women's Club. We did the second show at a church hall, and then it looked like, okay, this is going to be a real thing. And the great thing about our early leadership, the founders, the Green and the first board, they immediately did all the steps needed to make a structure for the theater. They applied for the 501c3 status. They had bylaws and articles of incorporation, all this sort of thing. So we had a structure immediately. At that time, what is now the middle school for Fernandina Beach was the high school, and that seemed the best place to perform because it had a real stage, a real auditorium that seated 400. There weren't many lights, there wasn't much in the way of sound equipment, so we had a little bit of this and that we would bring in. We started accumulating things like flats and set construction pieces and costumes, and so different people kept everything at their home. People who had spare bedrooms or attics or garages, so our stuff was all over town.
We built part of the set in my backyard, and we carried it up to the old Fernandina Beach High School, which is now the middle school. And so that was my introduction, I guess you might say.
In the early days, I mostly worked with peppermint players and publicity. And then after about a year, I started working as a stage manager and then a producer and an actor on the stage and lots of other jobs in between, house manager and lots of publicity work.
I arrived with a lot of experience in directing and acting, having studied in California, in Hollywood. So when it came up for directors, I'd say, yeah, I'd like to direct. So that's where I started.
At first, I wasn't interested in theater, but once he started spending so much time doing this, I thought,
she missed me.
that maybe we should do this together, as a togetherness thing, and so we have.
But I thought, gee, this is fun trying out. So the next thing that came along was you can't take it with you. And there was a part for an old woman who had been a famous actress who was now a drunk. And I thought, I can do this.
Then they decided they needed to start charging rent, not just to us, but to anybody that used the school system buildings, which was fair, of course. So we started thinking, well, if we're going to have to pay money, we ought to use that money and put it into a building of our own. So we started looking around, and then we found what turned out to be the old school board offices. And around 1988, we purchased those. We still, for a year or two, performed at the high school and paid rent because we had a lot of work to do on what is now Studio 209. And then there was an opportunity, not too many years after that, to purchase some adjacent land from CSX Railroad. And so even though we weren't sure what we were going to do with it, it seemed like a wise thing to do. And it turned out to be a very wise thing to do because it's the land where the new theater, of course, is now.
Well, back in about 1998, in those days I lived next door to Charlie Horton. And we knew about ACT, of course. And we said, let's go down. They've got an audition tonight. Let's see what happens. I looked at it and thought about it and said, why not? Give it a go. And loved it.
In 1998, my son was going out with a young lady who was in our production of Fiddler on the Roof at that time. I came to see it and thought this was a really spectacular production, and I asked if I could help with the next production. I started out by ushering. Next thing I knew, I was in props crew, and the next thing I knew, here I am today.
Charles and Peggy Horton are my next door neighbors, and they coerced me into coming to work on wardrobe 12 years ago. And I have enjoyed it so much because I've met all these people I would never have run into otherwise.
It started when I had written the lyrics to a new musical called Bookstore. And after that, then I was so impressed with them, so excited about everything they did.
I first got involved in 2001 when I was asked to play bass in the orchestra for Forever Plaid, and ended up being asked to be on the board of directors, and then I took over building management from Marvin Johnson, and then somehow I ended up president of the board.
Well, in 2005, when we all said, yes, we want to build a new theater, it probably still wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Graham Thomas, who said, I will be the capital campaign chairperson.
By that time, I'd maybe acted once or twice and cleaned a couple of toilets, and I knew my way around, and somebody said, would you be on the board? And I said, what do you want me to do? And they said, don't really know, but we'll find something, and they did. We built that place over there, the new place. I really was convinced it could be done. We were selling out in here many nights with a waiting list, and it seemed to me it was something that needed to be done and would extend the theater into the community even more.
The core amount of our money really came from the theater itself. The theater working, you know, these 20-something years to save money. So that gave us that nice, healthy balance to start with.
The ACT Guild here was created 9.5 years ago. We'll celebrate our 10th anniversary in this upcoming season. They provide anything that the theater needs, from ushers to doing the mailings for the theater, raising money for special things that the theater needs that we don't have out of our ticket money. It keeps the ticket costs down.
When they first got the plans for the new theater, they said, no, there's not enough money for a kitchen. And that was one of the things that the Guild really wanted. They asked for that. They said, well, you've got to have it. And they've outfitted it with the refrigerator and cabinets and all the things in there. They really held their feet to the fire and said, we want a kitchen. And I think that it's really shown that it's profitable.
I researched a lot of it before it was built, so when it was actually being built, I couldn't believe it was being built. I was here every day. I got pictures going back to the day they cut the ground, and it's just unbelievable. I'm so proud of this theater.
We knew that once we built the new theater, a lot of things were going to go up. Insurance and utilities, to name two right off the bat. And yes, indeed, they did. But the wonderful thing was, people kept coming to the theater. They kept saying this is wonderful and we love our community theater and not having to drive other places to see a play. And so we could pay our bills and still save some money.
Because our overhead is relatively low because we're a volunteer base and always have been, and because also on the revenue side, the community really supports us. As I understand it, we have 550 season ticket holders every year.
Our first show was April 2010, Pirates of Penzance, which was a Gilbert and Sullivan musical. It sold out every night. We had to add an extra show. We probably could have done a couple more extra shows. Wonderful cast of people. It was just a perfect show for a first show in our new building. The Pirate Club of Fernandina came and took part, and we worked in the whole pirate connection with Fernandina Beach. Opening night of Pirates was so exciting. A wonderful opening night party, people dressed up. It was just one of those magical nights in the theater.
I'll never forget getting to my seat, and I'm not making this up, really seriously, getting to my seat. And the main curtain came back, which is a first, and on came the ship, which we never could have done in the studio theater. The bow of the ship and the pirates got off and broke into song, and I thought, yes! Yes, and I felt really quite emotional about it.
I think things are going really, really well. We knew that that first year there was going to be a big transition just of moving from a totally different type of performing space. We'd never even had curtains that you could pull with ropes. We suddenly had a lot more height, and we could start thinking about building two-story sets and being more imaginative and more creative. We now had wing space if we wanted to roll wagons in and out from the wings with different kinds of set pieces. We also have new expectations of how many people we want to attend each show, and so our play selection committee is impacted by that, trying to pick shows that we know that a minimum number of people will attend. But audiences have been very appreciative. They continue to tell us how much they love this new building.
This facility is nice. This facility really helps out in making community theater really work.
We don't have to go to Jacksonville to experience great community theater. Jacksonville has great theaters down there, but ours is on par with them, and it's wonderful that we can just have that in our backyard.
It's so stimulating to be able to come to these productions and to see your friends acting.
I think it just makes the community come together even more, and being a small island, you see all the people that you run into at the grocery store, and they're up there on stage, and it's a great sense of community.
Sometimes I'm up in the tech booth and I'm looking out at this wonderful facility that we have, and I just think we are so lucky in this community to have this. We've raised a lot of money, we've put a lot of heart and soul into providing a really first-class facility for our community to enjoy these shows that we put on.
And we are receiving what's called the Twink Lynch Award. Only 3 theaters this year are getting this, and these are theaters from all over the country, actually internationally. It recognizes that we've made some changes and that we have grown and gone from one level of organization to another. So the fact that we've built a new theater, we now have a paid staff member, we have online ticketing, we've started some new programming, all those things factored into us being selected for this award.
Well, I see that we have a bright future, but we have to be, I think, fiscally responsible. The more we get people involved, the bigger it'll actually grow.
Where I think we can really grow is in our selection of plays, to continue doing things that are more challenging, both musicals and non-musicals. And I think we can really grow in how we use our Studio 209.
Well, it was always our long-range thought that the studio theatre would become, firstly, something for children's productions, for smaller productions, readers' productions. I think it's great.
Our children's program, right now we have a summer camp that 30 or 40 children at best can participate in, just because we're limited in how many weeks we can run summer camp. It'd be wonderful to have a children's program that ran most of the summer, so that maybe 200 children over the course of a summer could participate rather than only about 40. So that's a way we can grow.
I first just attended the small theaters summer camps, and they were definitely enjoyable. I liked them very much.
Well, my first play here was actually just Christmas Story. That's the first thing I really did.
Well, one of the things that we're very excited about is reestablishing a teen theater troupe. We've had them in the past, but sometimes they were short-lived.
I was working on postmortem here, and then I was contacted in the early spring of 2011 saying that we actually want to start a teen troupe.
I found the community theater website, and I found that they were doing Diary of Anne Frank, so I came to audition for that, and I didn't get it, but Mason was actually there, the teen advisor, and he was talking about the teen group, so I thought I'd come to a meeting and see what it was about.
But they're learning all the aspects of theater, not just performance, but they're learning the behind-the-scenes jobs also, what it takes to put on a play or a production.
I worked backstage on A Christmas Story, and I saw theater in a whole new light when I did that, because it helped me get a feel of what I could actually do in theater. you know, not just be on stage in the spotlight. And that helped me appreciate it a lot more.
So what we're hoping is that they'll just do all these different aspects. They talk about improv, they talk about monologues, comedy, drama, and they're working their way toward doing a big full-scale production.
I got the part of Annelle in Steel Magnolias, and I'm so excited. I loved working backstage, but I think I love being on stage more. I really do. There's nothing like it at all.
We're looking at trying to increase what we offer in the way of education. We want to look at bringing in some more specialized workshops. Over the past few years, maybe if we did a couple per year, that was about all we could schedule. We often forget that this lobby in our main stage is a wonderful space to have functions.
You're always building, you're always moving forward. That's the way I feel it should be, and that's the way this theater is. And I think that ACT has made such a contribution to the island through theater, through education, through plain and simple entertainment at its finest.
I tell people it's a great thing for, you know, family to do with the children and everything. You know, it's a great, for the community, for the family.
My children are grown and gone. I have no family in the area. The theater is my family. I've met so many interesting people, diverse people. It fulfills a need for me to be creative and to make a positive difference in my community.
I was extremely unhappy. And I know that's hard to believe on Amelia Island you can be unhappy, but I was. And then getting involved with the theater and with the wonderful people here, it's just given me a whole new purpose in life.
I love every minute that I'm involved with the theater, whether I'm in the audience or working on publicity or the board. All of it is good fun. It really is.
There is a fun place for you here. It doesn't have to be on stage, can be backstage, box office, whatever. There is something here for you. We're inclusive for everybody, not just one element of the community. This is a whole community sponsored volunteer theater.
I heard it from someone at an artistic directors conference, as he believes that theater enriches your life, changes your life, and sometimes even saves your life. And I truly believe that on all three counts. I've seen that here. I've seen the difference it makes in children and adults, the confidence it gives people, the support group.
The theater, for me, has all but saved my life because I lost my husband about 9 years ago and immediately got involved with this theater. And that takes you out of your life that's in your house. It introduces you to a whole new way of living, a whole new area of friendship.
Just one.
Oh, that's hard to do.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Wow, fantastic.
Creativity.
Fun. Theatrical.
Yeah.
Dynamic.
Excitement.
Inclusivity.
Excellent.
Exciting.
Fun.
Awesome.
I would probably have to say it's amazing.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing, everything the traffic will allow. Nowhere can you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow. Let's go on with the show.